This is Kentucky Afield Radio. This is Ron Rohde, Kentucky Afield's first host back in 1953. Now, I'm proud to present Charlie Baglan.
For families involved in school archery, this is a busy time of year. The popularity of elementary, middle, and high school archery is bursting at the seams. And my guest today knows this all too well. He is Ryan Bass, and he leads the latest archery edition, the 3D Archery Challenge. How it all got started and where it's going, including the first ever appearance at the State Archery Championship. We take aim on fun, next on Kentucky Afield Radio.
Hunting elk in Kentucky is a dream come true for many, and I want to add my name to that list.
And I want to add mine.
If you want to add yours,
the Kentucky Fish and Wildlife website is Elk Central. The Pick 4 option lets you put your name in the hat for cow, bull, archery, or firearm.
Plus youth tags.
The deadline is midnight, April 30th.
This could be my year.
And it could be yours.
Register for incredible Kentucky elk hunting at fw.ky.gov.
Kentucky's Nature and Wildlife Fund. You see it as a contribution option when you prepare your state tax return. But you also see it as songbirds and wildflowers. You can see it in clear flowing streams. Sometimes it's so secluded you may never see it at all. But if you only see it on your PC as you prepare your taxes, that's good too. Google it and see the difference this fund makes. Kentucky's Nature and Wildlife Fund, the natural tax shelter.
Welcome to Kentucky Afield Radio. My name is Charlie Baglan. I was born too soon. That's all I can say. Think back to schools prior to 2002. There was no archery. But since 2002, when the National Archery in the Schools program got a foothold in physical education classes in schools around the state, over 1 million kids have had bows in their hands on a regular basis. Archery in schools today across America is pretty much as common as any other sport. School archery is larger than Little League Baseball. Turn the page on the calendar to 2014, and there's a new addition. The IBO partnered with NASP to offer a 3D-style archery, where students competed using lifelike targets, turkey, coyote. If you're in this, or you have a son or daughter or a friend in school archery, then you know a happy kid. The NASP IBO 3D Challenge has just taken another step forward by the hiring of a national tournament director, and he is my guest today. Ryan Bass, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you for having me.
You are the very first in this position ever, and I want to say that with all respect, because I know Brian Markham, the president of the International Bowhunter Organization, did this for 2 or 3 years, but, buddy, it ran him ragged.
Yeah,
it did.
He worked a lot of hours, wearing a lot of hats, doing a lot of jobs, so I'm glad I can come in and at least take some of that off of him.
If anybody sees Brian these days, now that you're on the job, he'll look 10 years younger.
I hope I can do that for him, exactly.
So the very first in the position, and that position is, what's the official title?
Official title is Director of NASP IBO 3D Challenge.
A lot of acronyms there. Let's define them all. Let's start first with NASP.
Of course, NASP being National Archery in Schools program, and then IBO, International Bowhunting Organization. Those two organizations came together with an agreement in 2014 to create the 3D Challenge, where now we're taking those NASP kids that are shooting bullseye, and let's get them over to shooting some 3D targets.
3D target. Three-dimensional. It's not a paper target. It's with the concentric rings like you'd picture an archery target. This is more lifelike. This is animals. What animals are your targets?
You know, we're looking at the North American game animals and letting those kids be able to shoot those. And so what we're looking at is a turkey, a coyote, bear, a pronghorn, a white-tailed deer, and a stone sheep. And like you said, it has scoring rings on it. What's unique here is that when these targets were built and the scoring rings were built for these kids, is we needed to make sure that the scoring rings remained intact. So the 9 and 10 scoring rings are the same size as the kids were already used to. So they're not having to adjust to try to hit a different scoring ring. They're the same size.
So NASP and IBO came together, and if anybody is in this or has a kid in this or been to a tournament, they've seen it. You have the general paper targets, and then you have the NASP IBO 3D animal targets. Do you have to participate in one anymore to be able to qualify for the other?
The NASP bullseye, that integrity needs to stay in place. So in order to shoot and move on into the national world level of the NASP IBO, an archer must shoot the bullseye tournament. So, yeah, there is still that prerequisite that they must shoot that bullseye, the paper target, before they move over to our side and shoot the 3D.
And the equipment is all still the same arrows, the same bows.
Yeah, exactly right. It was important to keep that integrity. You know, we don't want kids having to buy separate equipment. They can take the same thing they've been using for ever how long they've been in the program in their school and walk from one range to the other. So they're using the same Genesis bow, the same Easton NASP arrow. When they come over to the range, the same netting system that we use behind the target for the backstop. It's all the same bow racks. They don't have to do anything different, same equipment, and just come over and shoot a different target.
The targets are different. So you have paper versus, say, the bale of hay that has the concentric rings on it. You may see at 4-H camp or conservation camp. But the distances are unknown in many cases, aren't they?
Exactly right. You know, we have 6 targets. When this started, it started with 5 targets, and they moved it up to 6. With those 6 targets, you know, IBO, a whole portion of IBO is unknown distance. Because as you and I know, as hunters, we go out in the woods, it is vital that a hunter be able to adjust and range how far is that deer, how far is that turkey from us. So we needed to keep that intact. However, with the NASP program, it's a known distance. They shoot at a 10-meter target, and then they back up and they shoot that same target from 15 meters. What we've done with the NASP IBO is to put those 6 animals on a diagonal line away from the shooter. In other words, the turkey, we always know the turkey is going to be sitting at 10 meters. Then the sheep is always going to be sitting at 15. The 4 targets in between those 2 are on a straight diagonal line. Just you're not quite sure of the distance.
How many kids are really saying, hey, I like this? Because they have been looking for something beyond NASP.
That's what this come from. Roy Grimes, president of NASP, when they've done these surveys of these kids and go, you know, what do you want next? You know, what can we do for you? They wanted this. They asked for this. Not that they're getting bored of a paper target, but they want more opportunities, and we need to supply them with more shooting and archery opportunities. So it is popular. When we look at numbers over the years, and I'll just use the national tournament, for instance, the very first year we had the NASP IBO at the national tournament, there was 2,001 kids that shot it. Last year there was a little over 3,400 that shot it. This year we're anticipating well over 4,000, possibly 4,500 to shoot the national level. And then when I look at state level tournaments, and we'll talk about that some, but at state level tournaments, the very first year, 6 states implemented it. Last year, we added 5 more, so 11 states had a state level tournament. There's already been 29 3D tournaments. Those are NASP IBO tournaments that have been put on by schools, by archery clubs, things of that nature. So the popularity is absolutely growing. It is very popular.
So you're talking about the national tournament. Now, we know that thing is immense when it comes to bringing kids from all over the nation, and Alaska, 13,000, 14,000 kids, and the number keeps growing. Do you think, is it feasible to believe that you'll ever have as many shooting the paper targets as you will the NASP IBO?
I don't know that we'll ever reach that same number, because as the program continues to grow, and they both will, obviously NASP with the paper targets is growing substantially, adding about 1,000 schools per year to that program. So every year you're going to have a new group of kids come in that they're going to shoot the paper, and then as the years progress, they'll come over and shoot 3D because they'll see it and they go, hey, we want to do that. I don't know that we'll ever have, if NASP has 14,000 kids and we'll also have those 14, but you can absolutely guarantee that the numbers are going to continue to increase.
Here's something I was wondering, just came to mind. If we have NASP all over the nation, of course we have it in several foreign countries, Is the IBO aspect of that going to go international as well?
I do believe it will. I know it will. Such as Alberta, Canada, which you're very familiar with, is in the program, been in it for quite some time. They've already reached out to us and said, "Hey, we'd love your help. Could you come up and help us with a NASP IBO 3D tournament?" So I do see that stretching internationally.
Ryan Bass, director of the NASP IBO 3D Archery Challenge, seen more and more at school archery events, and he is ours for the hour. We'll have more in a moment. You're listening to Kentucky Afield Radio. We are back on Kentucky Afield Radio. My name is Charlie Baglan. Ryan Bass is on the phone with me. He is our special guest this hour, and we are lucky to have caught him between tournaments. So you are the director of the NASP IBO 3D Challenge. Now, if you're the director, are you a one-man band, and what's your territory? Because right now you'd be spread very thin.
That's exactly right. And what we wanted to do was to be able to take this program. A lot of states, NASP program is run by the wildlife agencies across the country. So they were running the NASP program, and then they come along and go, well, here is NASP IBO, we're going to create this new program. And a lot of states have not been able to implement the 3D portion due to resources, manpower, money, those things. So now what they've done is created my position to say, if you would like the 3D, I'll come do it for you. So I am basically a one-man show for right now. I've got a trailer. I've got about a 24-foot enclosed trailer with the entire tournament in it. 8 sets of equipment, 48 targets, every single piece of equipment we need for a tournament. And I work with the state coordinators to bring the NASP IBO 3D Challenge to their state. We'll begin this coming season. We're working on it right now. The month of March is absolutely full. We'll go from state to state and run tournaments. So
you're doing tournaments, but the kids, it doesn't sound like they really have the opportunity to practice on these targets.
And we're seeing more and more schools to go in, and they're buying these sets of equipment. And when I look through and see, okay, who's doing some tournaments across the country, a lot of states, you'll see, and Iowa comes to mind. Iowa has held just an abundance of NASP IBO shoots to prepare their kids for state, national, world-level tournaments. So these kids are getting some practice at the 3D before we even get there for the state-level tournament.
The National Archery in the Schools program does have state coordinators. Now, of course, Lisa Fry here in Kentucky. And I know that you'll be coming up for our state tournament end of March.
We'll be there March 31st and April 1st. We're looking, that's going to be a huge state-level NASP tournament as well as a NASP IBO. Right now, I've got 1,248 spots available for the 3D for the state-level tournament. So that's a big tournament.
One thing I'm wondering is it going to be necessary, do you think, as you look down the road to have not just NASP coordinators for each state, but the NASP IBO 3D Challenge coordinator for every state? What do you think?
What I see in the future is us having to go beyond me. Again, I'm, just one person, and as I go into states, and, most of the state-level tournaments are held February, March, and April. Well, there's only so many weekends or so many days in a month that we can run a tournament. So what I see is us having to bring on some people to help run some tournaments across, maybe some regional people to help run some tournaments across the country, and especially as we spread west. And, that's the next big step is getting west and really trying to grow that program in the west.
Ryan, I can see it right now. You're sitting in a warm chair in Clemson, South Carolina, and someone from Washington State says, hey, we want to have a tournament, come see us. That's a long, long way to travel with your trailer.
And that's funny that you say it, because that's the exact scenario. Here about 4 weeks ago, I got a phone call from Washington State. You're exactly right. And that's exactly what they want us to come. So you just can't, feasibly, I can't hook up to a trailer and drive across the country.
So right now it's more of a regional East U.S. kind of thing, or what?
Yeah, we've got states in the West that are holding 3D tournaments. They're doing it on their own. A lot of states have implemented it. Arizona's a great story. Our state coordinator in Arizona, she was a NASP archer and is now the state coordinator. So she's implemented it. So we've got some states in the West that have already implemented it and got it started, but we need to spread the word and get those kids that opportunity out there as well.
So how many tournaments could you possibly accommodate? I don't know if I should say at once, but maybe within a week or within a month?
Yeah, I mean, just looking at this year alone, the month of March, the very first weekend in March, I'll be in Ohio. March 4th, I'll be running the Ohio State NASP IBO. The following weekend, I'll be in Virginia. The weekend after that, I'm going to Maryland. And then I am skipping a week, and then I'll be there with you in Kentucky for the Kentucky State Tournament.
So a lot of these state tournaments may be on the same weekend.
That's the issue I'm running into, is that they're overlapping, and I've already worked with states to come into their state in 2018. My 2018 calendar is already full, so we got to be careful about overlapping tournaments on the same days. And so, yeah, it's going to take some manpower as this thing grows, but, you know, these are great problems to have.
You're right. You have no choice but to grow. And the demand is there. The kids want this.
We got to supply it. That is our future. We're all in this together. That's the great portion about this is, you know, IBO and NASP together, a lot of like-minded people that are truly in it for the kids.
The kids have some benefit to this. They get to have a lot of fun. They're a part of a team. They can go out and compete, and they can win, and they don't have to run fast or jump high to do it. What does IBO bring to this? Are the same goals in mind for the NASP IBO 3D Challenge? Is this just something extra for fun? Or are you looking at it as a way to challenge the child to get better grades, to grow as a person? What all enters into this?
And that is what is so great about the National Archery in Schools program is we look out there across that range and we see kids from all walks of life, no matter what they got going on back in their states. They're up there competing with everybody else. Not every kid's a jock. You know, we're seeing more and more kids leave some other sports and come over and do just archery. We hear those stories all the time, and that's what really makes this sport great is we see kids from all walks of life doing it. Why did IBO want to partner with NASP? You know, we want to provide an extra opportunity to those NASP Bullseye participants, maybe reach some students that were not interested in the Bullseye competition and give them something else to shoot for. Again, they still have to shoot that bullseye to come over to 3D, but we're giving them that extra opportunity. Another good thing about this is, as we've said, is all the NASP programs across the country is run by the state DNRs or by the wildlife agencies. This program will strengthen the tie between NASP, IBO, and those states because the states now can see that clear link to what's next for these kids, and that's outdoors, because that's our hope is now we're going to take these kids and they are out shooting a 3D target. What's next for those kids? And hopefully that is to lead them into the outdoors, have a bow in their hand, and promote, encourage, and go out and do some bow hunting or at least some target shooting at an IBO shoot somewhere across the country.
The NASP IBO 3D Challenge and the NASP Archery in the Schools program, is the management of both sides of this more or less independent and you come together at tournaments, or how close do you work with Dr. Tommy Floyd and Roy Grimes?
Very close. Very close. I am in constant contact with Tommy, especially with the Vice President of National Archery in Schools, Tommy Floyd, and me and him work side by side together. You know, he's a great resource, especially when it comes to education, and he's got that passion for seeing these kids do well and what's next after they go through our programs. And so, yeah, I work very closely with him and communicate between him and then the president of IBO, Brian Markham, on a weekly basis for sure.
Let's talk a little bit about your background. Conservation Officer Ryan Bass from the state of South Carolina. So you spent a lot of years in the field with a gun on your hip, didn't you?
Absolutely. I grew up as in rural South Carolina. All we knew was hunting and fishing. And when I was 6 years old, I told my father, I said, I want to be a game warden when I grow up. And that's exactly what I did. I'm very fortunate to be a game warden here in South Carolina for over, right at 25 years. And a couple months ago, was able to retire from the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources as the shooting sports coordinator where I was the state coordinator for the National Archery in Schools program here in South Carolina, and come to work for IBO.
So when you were in rural South Carolina, what part of the state is that?
Upstate South Carolina. I grew up in a little county called Afield County, which is about an hour south of Clemson. And so I grew up there, very rural. Hunting and fishing is all we knew as a kid. Grew up on a farm, so great childhood.
You have a great big lake there. What's the name of that lake?
Lake Hartwell.
Yeah, Lake Hartwell is the one I was thinking about. You say the word Clemson. I think people will certainly know that name. That's National Championship City there.
Yep, Clemson had a very good year.
They did indeed.
They did.
Do you see enough orange? Are you reminded on a daily basis that the Tigers are champions?
I am, and I'm a different one. I live in Clemson, and however, I am a Gamecock fan. However, that what Clemson has been able to do, we know is great for the whole state. But yes, I am reminded of it every day.
In case you didn't know, there is none, I mean not one iota of love lost between Clemson University and the University of South Carolina. It's much like Kentucky and Louisville. So you can imagine the agony he must endure on a daily basis, living in Clemson, but supporting the Garnet and Black. But archery is the topic this hour, and so we will be back with Ryan Bass, our special guest. He'll hang with us through the break, plus our fishing report is standing by. Stay with us. You're listening to Kentucky Afield Radio. We're back on Kentucky Afield Radio, and if you would like to hear this show again, or maybe email the link or put it on Facebook so other archery enthusiasts can hear this, it's pretty easy to find the link. Just go to Facebook, put Kentucky Afield Radio in the search box. There we are. Go to YouTube as well, put Kentucky Afield Radio in the search box, and up will pop our long list of topics we've had over the years. Plus, we are a podcast. Just go to iTunes and put Kentucky Afield Radio in the search box. We will have more on the subject. Up now, our fishing report.
This is Jeff Crosby with the Central District Fishing Report. Lake temperatures across the district are running in the mid-50s. Largemouth bass fishing is very good at many of our area lakes, especially Taylorsville and Harrington, as well as some of our smaller lakes like Gist Creek, Bidgie-Kinman, and Beaver Lakes, by casting crate baits across points. Also fishing creature baits or plastic worms or jigs around shoreline covers, producing several fish also. Additionally, at Taylorsville and Harrington, good catches of crappie are being taken right now. Lakes that are part of the Fishing in Neighborhoods program, the FINS program, are being stocked at the beginning of March. And finally, don't forget, March 1st marks the start of a new fishing year for fishing license. Remember to go out and purchase your 2017 fishing license today. Hope to see you on the water.
This is Rob Rold in the Northwestern Fishery District. Our main reservoirs, Rough River Lake and Nolan River Lake, are both at Winter Pool. Crappie continue to be fair, fishing with minnows around standing timber in the lower parts of both lakes. Bass fishing also fair at Nolan. Anglers are catching some nice fish using umbrella rigs, casting around where the shallow banks drop off into deeper water. Crappie are also active in some of our smaller impoundments. Anglers have been catching some nice fish at Carpenter's Lake, Lake Malone, as well as some of the mine lakes on Peabody Wildlife Management Area. Our Fins Lakes will receive their final stocking of trout this month. This month is also the first month of catfish stocking for our Fins Lakes. So that's an update on angling in the Northwestern District. Please remember, be safe on the water. Always wear your life jacket.
In western Kentucky, down at Kentucky and Barclays, with this mild winter weather that we've had, the lake temperatures have warmed up into the mid and in places upper 50s, which is ideal for crappie fishing. So we've had an excellent winter fishery for crappie so far. They're schooled up on the adjacent flats, like in Blood River, Jonathan Creek, the secondary channels up in the embayment. Spider rigging, fishing with a drift sock has been very productive. Fishing with jigs and minnows or both has been productive. And so we've got some good crappie numbers out there, and fishing has been great with this weather we've been having. The bass has started becoming a little more active, seeing much more shallow and not as much out off of the deep ledges. Spring seems like it's here. Well, this is Paul Reister, and I hope you find a good day to go fishing.
We
used to call them Sunday drivers. Today, we call them every name in the book. So to you, in my rearview mirror, I promise to go at green lights. No more riding my brakes or forgotten turn signals. And I'll stay out of the passing lane, unless I'm passing. Your actions set the pace. So do like me. When you're behind the wheel, make sure others aren't delayed because they're behind you.
Be alert. Be a leader. A Drive Smart message from your Kentucky Department of Transportation Safety.
Hunting elk in Kentucky is a dream come true for many, and I want to add my name to that list.
And I want to add mine.
If you want to add yours,
the Kentucky Fish and Wildlife website is Elk Central. The Pick 4 option lets you put your name in the hat for cow, bull, archery, or firearm.
Plus youth tags.
The deadline is midnight, April 30th.
This could be my year.
And it could be yours.
Register for incredible Kentucky elk hunting at fw.ky.gov.
Kentucky's Nature and Wildlife Fund. You see it as a contribution option when you prepare your state tax return. But you also see it as songbirds and wildflowers. You can see it in clear flowing streams. Sometimes it's so secluded you may never see it at all. But if you only see it on your PC as you prepare your taxes, that's good too. Google it and see the difference this fund makes. Kentucky's Nature and Wildlife Fund, the natural tax shelter.
Kentucky Afield Radio, my name is Charlie Baglan, and we're talking with Ryan Bass today, who has just been named the NASP and IBO to head the popular and ever-growing 3D archery aspect of school archery. And he does this nationwide. You can find video of this on YouTube if you want to see really what this looks like. And what I like about this is for a bunch of kids, it gives them an extra reason to go to school. School is suddenly more than just books and grades. It's building camaraderie. It's being part of a team. Self-confidence is growing there. And it's making kids career-ready, life-ready. Basketball, band, tennis, track, drama, all those things, cheerleading. They have all traditionally done this, but still there were a few left out. And they never really could find their niche. Archery, and now the 3D Archery Challenge, is a choice. Ryan Bass is the man helping to close that gap, and during your time back down in South Carolina, you were a game warden. How long were you in the field?
I started with the Department of Natural Resources in 1995. I was a sheriff's deputy for a couple years prior to that, and then started with DNR in 1995. I was a field officer, strictly in the field as a game warden, for about 6 years, and went from there into our hunter education section, where I was a regional hunter education coordinator, taught hunter ed and boater ed across 7 counties. And then those last couple, that was about 14 years in that position. And then the last 2.5 years, I was a shooting sports coordinator, where I managed the Archery in the Schools program, a Scholastic Clay Target program, and a youth mentoring program where we took first-time hunters hunting, took kids hunting.
Talking about children, what are they going to see new now that you are in this position?
This will bring some uniformity to the program so we can make sure kids across the country, when they get to the national level, they've done the same thing before. This will bring, we want to prepare these kids so when they show up in Louisville, Kentucky for a national tournament or wherever the world tournament is for that year, they're not seeing something they've never seen before. So this will definitely bring some uniformity. So, we go in and run a state-level tournament, it's going to be the same thing everywhere we go. They'll just see the commitment that NASP and IBO has to make sure we provide an opportunity for our kids.
Is there a fee for your services, Ryan?
There is a registration fee. We have to be able to continue to what we do, and for me to pull that trailer across the country and to have the target. So there's a registration fee that we charge for a state-level tournament. It's $25 an archer, which is about $10 less than the national and world tournament. But other than that, that is it. Everything else is done, but we charge a registration fee for the tournament only. I mean, we look at what kids are doing today and all the different sports that they're attached to. I've heard mamas talk about their daughters in competitive cheerleading and how much that cost, or baseball, whatever sport it is. If they were to go shoot every NASP event and NASP IBO event they had available to them, it is still far less than what they're spending on other sports.
I was looking at the NASP World Tournament and just some of the archery tournaments that are coming up. There's a World Tournament in July, and NASP has its own national and world tournaments. Now, I know that IBO does, too. I remember President Markham talking about how in the world am I going to be able to fit this in. What was it, a Triple Crown?
A couple of different things. We do a Triple Crown with the NASP to where a kid that shoots the NASP IBO at 3 events. They shoot it at the national tournament, they shoot it at the NASP World Tournament, and then they also come and shoot at the IBO World, which is held in Seven Springs, Pennsylvania in August. They shoot all 3 events, and they qualify for that Triple Crown event. Then on top of that, we are now bringing NASP IBO 3D challenges to our IBO national tournaments. There's a triple leg of IBO, and we're now including a division in those tournaments for the NASP IBO kids.
Well, that's what I was wondering. IBO does have its own tournament schedule. I didn't know if we would be seeing the NASP kids be able to be a part of that independent of the typical NASP tournament setup that you would see.
That's absolutely correct, is that now we want to make sure that those kids know that there are other opportunities out there for them to go shoot outside of, like you said, their traditional school-based program, but yet they can still do the same thing. They can bring their Genesis bow to a IBO national tournament in Indiana and Pennsylvania, wherever we go. They can bring that same bow to that tournament, and they're going to shoot a NASP IBO 3D challenge. But what that also does is it brings them to an IBO shoot, an IBO tournament. So they look around and they go, okay, I'm in 12th grade, I'm a senior in school. What's next for me? How can I continue in archery after I graduate high school? Well, now they've already been to an IBO national tournament somewhere, and they go, wait a minute, I can still do this. So the very next year, they pick up their bow, and they come back, and they come shoot an IBO tournament.
There's more to winning at an IBO or an archery tournament than just hitting a bullseye. And one of the biggest prizes I've seen that I know NASP brought about and has really opened the eyes to a lot of parents and a lot of school administrators is the scholarships that they award. It seems like last year, if I remember Dr. Floyd saying they had topped the $1 million mark. Are there scholarships being offered through the NASP IBO 3D Challenge?
There is, and that's the same deal. We offer scholarships at the national tournament, the world tournament. We are following suit with that as well. You are correct. NASP this year will crest the $1 million mark in scholarships to further education for the kids that are in the program. That's a big deal. We've got a young lady here in South Carolina that got a $10,000 scholarship at the national tournament last year. She took her money, went to Colorado, and used it to go to guide school. And right now she has come back down in the low country of South Carolina and is a guide at one of the plantations down in the low country of South Carolina. And the reason she's able to do it is because she was able to receive a scholarship from shooting National Archery in the Schools program.
There was a story, I can't remember exactly where I heard it, but maybe it was Tommy who was telling me, that one girl never thought that she would ever go to college. She never thought that after high school she would seek higher education. Then she was in archery, and lo and behold, she won a scholarship, $2,500. And she said, I'm not going to let that go to waste. She was applying herself and got other scholarships and went on to college and got the degree. Otherwise, without archery, that wouldn't have happened.
We hear those stories, and you can give a kid, I've seen it, I handed a young man a scholarship down in South Carolina at our state tournament a couple of years ago, a $500 scholarship. You and I know $500 won't buy the books, but that made the difference in that kid. That kid, the light bulb went off in that young man's head, and he exactly the same thing. I'm not going to let this go to waste. I'm going to go use it. And he went on to college.
And clearly, you're the director of this, and that's well and good, but you need some help. What type of help are you looking for out there? Do you want people to volunteer, or is there a way they can contact you, or where would they go to say, I appreciate what you're doing, I'd like to lend a hand?
We do. Everywhere we go, we're in constant need of help. Some volunteers, as simple as lane officials, and to see, men and women out there on the lane just helping during a tournament. We have to have that everywhere we go. Set up and tear down. We got to set up these tournaments and then tear them down and put them in the back of a trailer. We always need help. So everywhere we go, I will reach out to the state coordinator, the NASP state coordinators. I also reach out to archery club members and things of that nature to get help. But if anybody's listening that wants to help, especially there in your state of Kentucky, like I said, we'll be there March 31st and 1st. I am in desperate need of some help at that tournament because it's going to be very large. But yeah, they can reach out to me, and I can give you my email address. It is RyanB, RYANB, at IBO.net.
So RyanB at IBO.net.
Yeah, I'd love to have their help, so get in touch with me, and I'll definitely make those arrangements for them to be there. We'd love to have their help.
Where can people find out more about the program? You're busy on social media?
Absolutely. We are on social media. I have set up a NASP IBO Facebook page as well as a Twitter account. They can find us there. They can also go to our website. You actually have the NASP website, but then IBO.net is the website for the International Bow Hunting Organization.
Repeat those if you would.
All right. People can find more information on the National Archery in Schools program at the NASP website, which is NASP, N-A-S-P, schools.org. And then for the International Bow Hunting Organization, our website is IBO.net. On Facebook, you can look me up at NASP IBO 3D Challenge, and then you can do the same for Twitter, NASP IBO 3D Challenge.
Well, Ryan, you've got a lot of work to do, and I won't keep you from it, but I'm sure I'm glad that you came aboard to talk about it all this morning.
Charlie, thank you for having me, and look forward to seeing you. I know I'll see you in Louisville, and we've got a lot of work ahead of us, but it's all good stuff.
Ryan, thanks a million for being on today.
Thank you, Charlie. Have a good one.
I'm really looking forward to seeing how this is now a part, for the very first time, a part of the Kentucky State Archery Tournament. It's going to be in Louisville at the Exposition Center, March 31st and April 1st. Do make plans to attend. Even if you don't know a soul in the event, you should see it. And the young lady in charge of that entire tournament, the Kentucky Archery Coordinator, Lisa Fry, she's going to join us right after this timeout. You're listening to Kentucky Afield Radio. Kentucky Afield Radio. My name is Charlie Baglan. We are in our final segment of the show, and we're fortunate to have another archery coordinator who is always on the go, being able to take a minute to join us, Lisa Fry, the NASP coordinator for the state of Kentucky. Lisa, we had Ryan Bass on the show a few minutes ago. He's looking forward to coming up for your very first state archery tournament, and I take it you're pumped up, too, about having the 3D Challenge also at that tournament.
I am so looking forward to it. The state bullseye tournament will have around 6,200 children. Ryan is hoping for just a little over 1,000 children to attend the NASP IBO challenge. I'm thinking that he may need a little more space. I'm thinking that he's going to have many more children wanting to participate than he thinks.
So that 1,000 is just cutting it short.
I believe it's cutting it short. He thinks it's a great number to have, and yes, it's a wonderful number. But I know these Kentucky kids, they love to shoot. And once they're there and they see the 3D range set up, they're going to want to shoot that range also. Well,
that poses the question, can they wait and decide on the spot, or do they need to register for this in advance?
They need to register for it in advance. We're going to make sure that all coaches realize that they have this opportunity. Like you said, it is new, so many coaches will not realize they had that opportunity until they get there. We're going to try our best with communication to make sure that all coaches and children know that they have the opportunity to shoot the IBO 3D Challenge.
If I were a student, I would want to do this. We were talking throughout the past hour, and some numbers came up, and it seems like that about 20, maybe 30% of the student body there that's participating in NASP archery will take part in the 3D challenge. Yeah, just about 20 to 30%. Well, although that's growing, but those are the numbers. If you have 6,000 kids coming for NASP, and about 1,000 or a little bit more, those numbers are still in line. So I'm wondering, will you maybe top out at 1,500? What kind of number do you have in mind?
Well, this is our first year, so we are limited in space. So he's limited to the number of targets that he has. And it's going to be a learning experience for us. If we find that the NASP IBO 3D Challenge fills up as quickly as our state tournament fills up, then we could look forward to the next couple of years and make sure that we have made accommodations to allow more children to shoot.
Well, or maybe you could add more flights, but you're restricted by the number of targets and by the number of shooting hours in a day.
Correct. He will shoot the same number of flights that we shoot on our bullseye range.
I guess those have to be careful not to overlap. Are you hearing any concern that, well, the teacher from, let's just say, Callaway County or somewhere far away would say, well, normally we will come up and we have to hire bus drivers or we have to get hotels, and now adding this extra competition, is that something that these schools welcome, or is it more of a challenge for them to fit it into their tournament schedule?
Most schools that are traveling welcome an addition. They feel like the expense of traveling and the expense of staying overnight is justified when they get to participate in multiple events.
Talk a little bit about encouraging people to come see this, because this is surely by now close to 15 years into this program. Everybody in the state knows what this is, but a few have not, and some may not really know what to expect when they walk into a tournament.
I think that most people stay away from the tournaments unless they have a participant that's there. But they need to, it is a sight to behold to walk into a range with 240 targets, and when you hear the whistle blow and have 480 children shooting at once, it is just a sight to behold. If you've not seen it, it is certainly worth the $5 admission to walk in and see. Just talking to the kids and feeling the excitement in the range, on the range, is phenomenal.
You said 480 targets?
240 targets, so 480 children will be shooting it at one time.
That's a lot. It sounds like you're in the midst of a big popcorn popper. It
is. It does. It's the best sound ever. That's what the children say. If you ask them, what do you think about the sound when the arrows start flying, and they say that's just the best sound ever.
Lisa, this has been your first year at the helm of Kentucky Archery. How's it been going for you? Can you summarize it yet, or do you need to have a state tournament under your belt?
I'm enjoying myself every moment. It is a joy every moment. The tournament, of course, all the tournaments are special, but I get the best feeling when I walk into a school during the school day and I watch children in a PE class or an English class, whatever class is in the gym, but it's seeing those children during the school day that may not even be part of a competitive team, but it's those kids getting a bow in their hand for their first time that makes the difference in my enjoyment. I love seeing it. I love hearing the kids. I love seeing the smiling faces.
Is there a message you need to get out or would like to get out in advance of the state tournament?
Well, we need to make sure that we understand. A lot of our information goes out, and it's always about tournaments, but National Archery in the Schools program is about archery in the schools. So encouraging the schools to allow children to participate in archery during their school day at some point during the school year, that gives them the opportunity to shoot in the tournaments. But many people think that NASP is all about the tournaments, but no, that's just has what's come out of it. The kids love it so much that once they've started in school, then the after-school programs take over and the tournament structure happens. But archery in the school during the school day, that's our focus.
Lisa, thanks a million, and we will see you in Louisville.
Thank you.
Archery dates back to ancient history, but the game of archery that your kids shoot, including the new 3D aspect, was created and organized right here in Kentucky. It may not show up in the Kentucky history books yet. Meanwhile, you can learn more about the 3D Archery Challenge at IBO.net and at the Fish and Wildlife website, fw.ky.gov. Just tap on the Education tab. The Kentucky State Tournament is coming up March 31st and April 1st, Friday, Saturday, at the Kentucky Exposition Center. That is a new venue this year. We are out of time. This is Charlie Baglan inviting you to join us in a week, and we'll go inside outdoors again, here on Kentucky Afield Radio.